In live testimony, at transcript reference 8026, Čelić distanced himself from his initial account, stating that he produced his second Grubery report in Gračac after the Runyon operation. Again, lack of credibility. Transcript reference 7970 to 7971. Belunović submitted a report, P572. Belunović was one of the group leaders in Grubery. The chamber called to testify. This report was starkly at odds with the version of events Belunović had told Čelić, as he had reported orally to Čelić, his operational commander, that nothing had happened. When Čelić was asked whether he had discussed this discrepancy with Belunović, he testified that he had not done so. He hypothesized that Belunović's new report might have been based on his second report, which is P564, meaning the second report written by Čelić, which was allegedly dictated to him by Sačić. Quote, Belunović must have seen it, end quote, Čelić testified. However, when asked whether he could provide the chamber with any evidence of Belunović having read a dictated report, all he could say was, quote, the report was on the table for everybody to see, end quote. The fact that Belunović was one of Čelić's good friends, which is indicated in transcript reference 2967, casts significant doubt on the assertion that he never discussed the striking discrepancy between Belunović's two reports with Čelić. Again, lack of credibility. Transcript 8101 to 8103. When Čelić read Belunović's second report, P572, he failed to discuss the discrepancies between it and Belunović's first report with Belunović. The second report contained new information, which was not in the report which was dictated to Čelić by Sačić. Though Čelić read Belunović's report, he must have understood that it was alarmingly at odds with Belunović's initial report. Čelić testified that he did not discuss the matter in any detail with Belunović. This is in spite of the fact that Čelić testified he was, quote, surprised and interested, end quote, by the additional information contained in Belunović's report. Again, another lack of credibility. Transcript reference 8098 to 99. When confronted with Flynn's testimony that he saw a huge plume of smoke over Grubery on the afternoon of 25 of August 1995, and that virtually every structure in the hillside town was in flames, transcript reference for Flynn is 1064, Čelić testified that from a vantage that was approximately a kilometer away from Grubery, the same day, at roughly the same time, he saw nothing. Again, lack of credibility. Transcript reference 8106 to 8107. Following the operation in Grubery on the 25th, Čelić and his fellow special police returned to Gračac in convoy, 5 per vehicle. When asked whether he had discussed the operation on the way back to Gračac, Čelić stated that neither he nor anyone else in the vehicle had discussed the operation. Again, a lack of credibility. Transcript reference 8107 to 8110. When asked whether in line protocol, as a junior commander with the special police, he was obliged to seek information from his second leaders on the amount of ammunition that had been expended in the operation, he conducted an ammunition check. He was supposed to have conducted an ammunition check at the end of the Grubery operation, and he conveniently did not. Transcript reference 8128 to 8129. On page 424 of P762, when describing the events of 26th of August, Čelić does not mention having been involved in a meeting with Sačić and Čermaka. This description of the day's events contradicts what Čelić gave to the trial chamber in his live evidence. In court, Čelić suddenly remembered that in fact he did have a meeting with Sačić and Čermaka, during the course of which Čelić had discussed the details of the Grubery operation. It's crystal clear Čelić was a witness who said anything to cast blame others and not himself. He talked with no one, he saw nothing, he heard nothing, yet he signs reports which went up the chain to General Markač, which he knew were false. He accused Sačić of dictating the report to him, but he failed to confront his own subordinates for writing false reports, nor did he tell his own commander, Turkal, of this occurrence. With respect to planning and Markač's alleged involvement in planning of Operation Storm, I have referred to the Chamber to two exhibits, D-535 and D-543. Those are orders from the HB main staff dated June 26, 95 and July 29, 95, which spelled out the operation to be carried out in two stages over 3 days from the Velebit to the Gospić-Gračac road. Both those orders with the plans were given to Markač. He had no involvement in the planning of those or in terms of planning of Operation Storm. He was given a ready-made plan to implement, not asked to put a plan together. With respect to Donji Lapac, P586, the report of Branislav Bolt, which describes Janic's attempt to get the command of the 118th Regiment to stop burning buildings, and reported that the Special Police had nothing to do with the burning of Donji Lapac, as the Special Police was outside of Donji Lapac toward Kulanbakov. D556 is the report of Janic regarding the same issue, which, as opposed to the final trial brief at paragraph 411, asserts that Markač ordered the Special Police artillery to fire the town of Donji Lapac. D55, page 47, shows the main staff log in where Markač contacted the main staff at 21:20 on the 7th of August. Witness Pavlovich described a heated conversation that General Markač had with General Mladić from the main staff. D555. This contact was from Gračac, as there was no way to contact the main staff from Lapac. That's transcript reference 25272 to 73. Pavlovich also discussed the Special Police entry into Donji Lapac. General Markač had prohibited his advance force to open fire on a mixed column of ARSK soldiers and civilians, tanks with heavy weaponry. That's at transcript reference 25259. The last thing I want to talk about, Your Honors, is Gračac. And in brief, I want to refer you to the statement of Mr. van der Oosteen, who's really the sole witness, essentially, that the prosecution relies on for Gračac. His statement is fairly long. To be frank, it reads like a Jean Le Carré spy novel, but he discusses what he saw in paragraphs 29-30. He says in paragraph 29, in the outskirts of Gračac, we saw police cars and policemen that were looting. They wore gray uniforms. As we know, Dutch police uniforms are not gray. Either Mr. van der Oosteen is colorblind, or he was guessing, or he was wrong. What's interesting is in paragraph 30, he wanted to know whether they should drive back or go to Knin. He asked himself that question. He says, finally we drove back, although we were very scared. We parked in the central square of Gračac. And I just wanted to leave you with a picture of the very scared Mr. van der Oosteen, P325. There's the scared Mr. van der Oosteen walking around Gračac, observing the special police who apparently were looting trees or whatever they were doing, standing there in Gračac. Finally, I wanted to leave you with one thing before I hand it over to my colleague, Mr. Mikolicic. Thomas Jefferson once observed that the tree of liberty must be fertilized by the blood of patriots. General Markač is a patriot. He's a man of integrity and of character. And after years of occupation, profession, led the Special Police honorably and with distinction. With that, I will turn it over to my colleague, Mr. Markača. Thank you, Your Honors.
Thank you, Mr. Kuzmanovic. Mr. Markača.
With the permission of the court, I will give my final speech in Croatian, which is more convenient. Thank you. Časni sude,
Your Honors, my learned friends, all participants in the proceedings inside the courtroom and outside the courtroom. Damihi facta dabo tibi ius. That is what in the times of antiquity judges said to the parties in court. Learned friends before me, drew your attention to the facts established in these proceedings. Of course, I accept the analysis of the facts presented by my colleagues who spoke before me, especially in relation to JCE, expulsions, shelling, looting, arson, persecution. And from that point of view, I invoke beneficium cohesionis. Your Honors, I would like to recall some legal matters that I believe are important for reaching a fair and just decision in these proceedings. As His Honor Judge Schomburg says, there is no truth without justice or justice without truth. The facts are the truth, and justice is the law. Yesterday, on page 24 of the transcript, line 24, the prosecutor said that the law is clear, and no attempt is further made to elaborate on that assertion. I claim that the law referred to by the prosecutor is not clear. The defense is going to show that that law provides a different foundation for having this court reach a just decision. I'm going to be dealing with two elements, that is armed conflict and joint criminal enterprise. In this specific case, all crimes charged in the indictment are placed in a specific area, that is Sector South, at a specific time. That is to say, the period from the month of July until the 30th of September, 1995. The prosecutor alleges that throughout that period of time, in that area, a state of armed conflict prevailed. This assertion made by the prosecutor actually justifies, in legal terms, the qualification of the alleged crimes in accordance with Articles 3 and 5 of the Statute of the Tribunal. Because if the context, the incriminations, was not an armed conflict, then the tribunal would not have jurisdiction. Rather, it would only be national courts that would have jurisdiction, that is to say, the judiciary of the Republic of Croatia. It is not in dispute that one of the sources of law of this tribunal is undisputed customary international law. This source of law and jurisprudence defines the concept of armed conflict, which is conditio sine qua non of the jurisdiction of the tribunal. On the basis of the results of the evidence that used, The defense asserts